Major international airlines have cancelled flights to the United States over concerns over 5G towers next to the airports. Now, AT&T and Verizon Communications have agreed to temporarily defer turning on these towers. But this controversy is far from over. CEOs of 10 passenger and cargo airlines, including American, Delta, United and Southwest, are saying 5G will be far more disruptive than earlier thought. They're in fact demanding 5G services be banned within 2 miles of any airport. They say 5G signals next to runways could interfere with key safety equipment that pilots rely on to take off and land, particularly in inclement weather. Now, US President Joe Biden has thanked AT&T and Verizon for agreeing to delay 5G deployment. He has said this agreement will avoid potentially devastating disruptions to passenger travel, cargo operations and our economic recovery, while allowing more than 90% of wireless tower deployment to occur as scheduled. But it seems the US president, trying to broker this agreement, has not really cut any ice. Airline Pilots Association, that represents more than 61,000 pilots in the United States and Canada, are saying they want a permanent fix, and it's just going to be too dangerous to fly if this is not resolved at the earliest. Let me just introduce our experts and panelists for more on this rather technical and complicated story. We're being joined by MJ Vinod Augustine, Group Captain, retired aviation expert. Parvez Damania, founder of Damania Airways and former director of Kingfisher Airlines, is also with us. Tarun Pathak, he's the Director Devices and Ecosystems Research at Counterpoint Research, effectively a 5G expert who can tell us more about the technical aspects of this and just what the big stumbling block is over here, as well as Pankaj Mohindru, Chairman of the Indian Cellular and Electronics Association. Tarun Pathak, let me begin with you. Explain to our viewers how 5G tech really operates. Why is this going to affect flight operations, so much so that so many air sort of officials now are flagging concerns? Pilots are saying they don't want to fly unless some kind of permanent solution has been thought of.
Yep. Thanks for having me on the show. So actually, if you look at the problem that is basically arriving out of the C-band, which is the band in which 5G services operate between 3.4 gigahertz and 3.8 gigahertz.
Right.
Now, what has happened in US is the auction of C-band actually happened on relatively on the higher side of it, which is like 3.7 gigahertz to 3.98 gigahertz, which puts it very much closer to the altimeter and flight system that operate between 4.2 gigahertz to 4.4 gigahertz. So what they are saying potentially is the gap is very narrow, and the 5G could potentially interfere with some of the sensitive radar altimeters on certain aircraft. So that's the crux of the entire situation right now, which is happening in US.
Okay, fair enough. Let me try and break that down in slightly simpler language for our viewers tuning in. And maybe Parvez Damania, you could, help us with that. Effectively, this seems to mean, and pardon me if I'm oversimplifying this, that 5G towers close to airports can interfere with landing systems of aircraft, particularly in bad weather. Is that really the crux of it? And, if this were indeed the case, then why was this not something that was sorted out earlier?
This is more or less in summary what you said, but I'll tell you something. Modern aircraft, Boeing and Airbus, are highly advanced. They have all the technical specifications. I am sure the manufacturer, Airbus and Boeing also put light on it.
Parvez Damania, we're having some audio issues with your connection. We'll try and sort that out and come back to you in just a moment. But let me take the same question across to MJ Vinod Augustine. What really is the crux of the problem? Why are pilots saying that this is going to be such a dangerous situation that they now, they don't want a temporary solution to this. They want some kind of permanent arrangement?
Good question. In fact, if you see the entire talk about, it's on wide body aircraft, and namely Boeing 777. It's the Airbus A320 or Boeing 737 or the earlier Airbus family, 319s. they're all cleared for 5G operations. And you must have, I'm sure, heard recently the CEO of SpiceJet talking about they are going to roll out 5G soon in India.
Right.
So unless the type specific clearance has not been given, no company will incorporate a technology which will put the passengers in danger. No company will do that. So the OEM, the original equipment manufacturer, has to clear your aeroplane to carry a particular frequency. And in 777, the major concern is in whatever that FAA document that is available, and I could read about it, is the harmonics of the frequency, which is what one of the speaker was trying to tell us.
Yes.
See, there is a particular frequency in which this 5G is going to operate, but in the harmonics of this frequency, you could have a spillover on either side of this band, and when that happens, it could interfere, like rightly said in the document, on the ILS. Instrument landing system, which is the one which brings you down, even in zero visibility condition, called the Cat-3 ILS,
right?
Of the glide slope frequency, not the frequency in which you are laterally correcting the aeroplane, the frequency in which you're vertically correcting the aeroplane. So this vertical correction is what is going to get affected, especially in 777. Why? Because this particular frequency harmonics could also like the tuning fork. So when you hit the tuning fork, the fork not only generates one frequency, it also generates other frequency, and therefore in the multiples of the frequency that is being generated, other equipment also starts vibrating. So something similar will happen, could happen in 777, for which the 777 needs to be cleared. If the 777 is not going to fly, it is a big money spinner, let me tell you, because it's long haul aeroplane.
Right, of course.
So that is what is causing a lot of concern, especially in US, because most of the long routes from either side of the coast is flown by 777.
Right.
So that's the long and short of the problem.
All right. That's a very comprehensive explanation, and thank you very much indeed for that. But Parvez Damania, let me then ask you, why does this interfere only with the bigger aircraft and not with smaller planes? What are the technical reasons behind that? And again, to address that same question, why has it taken so long to address something like this? Presumably, aviation experts have flagged these issues already. So why were 5G towers even allowed to come up near airports if this was going to be an issue?
First and foremost, if the same problem will come in small or big aircrafts, we are getting affected because all of our international flights are basically long aircrafts, bigger aircrafts. Now, my only concern is this issue has to get sorted as early as possible, because the aviation industry has suffered tremendously because of the COVID problem. We are just trying to get out of it. And again, with so many cancellations on the international sector, again, the industry is going to get very badly hurt. I'm sure everybody is working on it and it will get sorted out. And again, like one of the experts is saying, these aircrafts are very advanced, the 777 and the Boeing and the Airbus aircrafts. So I don't think there is any risk, but I think the pilots are overly cautious, which they are correct in saying. And I think if AT&T and the other company assures the pilots that the towers won't come up in 5 kilometers radius of the airport, then the problem is resolved. And I think even the American aviation industry and the international aviation industry, everybody must be working as fast as possible to resolve this problem. If the matter is gone up till the President of America, this is a very serious issue. And I'm sure it will get resolved in a very short time.
Yes, indeed. But I suppose, Mr. Damania, the question really is what happens to all these passengers in the interim, the ones who now
it's very, very, yes. I'm telling you, the passenger and the aviation industry has suffered from it. The passengers have gone through so much trouble because of this COVID. And once again, this issue has come up. That is why let us hope that the American government and the companies that are involved in America come to some conclusion to the satisfaction of the aviation industry and the Pilots Association as this matter is solved. I think nothing is in the hands of our country or us sitting here, but I think it's a matter between the American companies and the US government to resolve this issue.
Right. Pankaj Mohindru, let me then try and rephrase that and look at it from an Indian context. What could be the potential ramifications of something like this for a possible 5G rollout here in India? Can we learn from this American experience?
No, it is very worrying that a so-called advanced first world country is in a technical mess like this. We have institutions like the FAA, the Wireless Planning Cell, etc. And the aviation industry is a very static, non-innovative kind of industry, which has a very long life for aircrafts. You know, if you see a 1970s movie, the aircraft looks almost the same. You know, it's not, because of the large capital deployment, it's not something where, things change very fast. So it is very worrying that a first world country is in a situation like this. Now, let me flip it to the other side of the consumer experience. In a worst case scenario, which is very, very unlikely and almost impossible, that 5G, because of the, the edge of the band, what Tarun explained, there is a remote possibility of interference. We have multi-band handsets. When the 5G handset also has 4G and 3G, etc. So this is how the industry scales up. So the very easy, simple thing to do is to just switch off the 5G base station in a certain this thing. But that is an extreme possibility. I do not think it is possible that a scenario like this can happen technically. And,
all right. Okay, so you're in fact raising questions about the concerns that are being raised by aviation experts. Tarun Pathak, very quickly, in terms of 5G rollouts here, as and when that happens, how do you see this playing out?
I think we should be good enough. So if you look at the C-band is already deployed in 40 countries worldwide, and we have not heard this issue in any of the other countries except for US now. Be it like Europe or South Korea that started 5G way back in 2019. So because they have stuck to the lower part of the C-band, which is 3.4 gigahertz to 3.7 gigahertz. And like I said, the altimeter and flight system operate at 4.2 gigahertz to 4.4. So if we are deploying it at the low end of the C-band, we should be good enough so that we had enough guard band between both the spectrum so that they should not interfere.
All right. Okay, thanks very much, all of you, for joining us on this discussion.